All right, we are talking about the magician today. It is Magician Day. So, if you're new to this concept, what I'm doing is going through and uh, identifying the uses of each tarot card and how the Zoldrake uses it to stifle us, and how in turn we can use that energy to battle against the Zoldrake. If you don't know what the Zoldrake is, there's other videos. Make sure that you watch those. Okay. The Magician is all about creativity, starting with what the Magician card is. Again, in Rider Waite Smith imagery, you see a figure, um, generally a masculine figure, in front of an altar with all of the altar tools on it, which are representative of all of the signs of the minor arcana and all the elements. And basically, yeah, that's it. Uh, in my opinion, it's a young person who's playing magician. It's almost like a person is playing dress up, like if a kid puts on mom or dad's work uniform type of thing. That's always the vibe that I get from that. And it's the idea of pure, raw, creative, external power. Okay. That's the big difference between this kind of masculine force and the um, kind of the feminine force of the high priestess, which we're going to talk about in the next installment. This talks about changing your environment, but going back to that childishness, changing your environment because of a childlike wonder to do so. I want you to think about, like, I know when I was a little kid, I made mud pies a lot, and I made like little sculptures out of clay, and I made, just colored for fun. Um, this is that idea of just making things to make things because you can, almost like odd scientific discovery. This is the energy and the vibe that we are going with. Okay, should go without saying that the Zoldrake kills that creativity. Okay, that's how the Zoldrake uses this energy against yourself. The biggest issue when it comes to weight loss and um, getting into the gym, and you can look at it from both a kind of a food standpoint and from a exercise standpoint, and then also from an external physique standpoint. What I mean by that external physique standpoint is, this is your body, it's yours, you get to mold it and make it into whatever you want, right? You can do that through diet and exercise, strength building, things like that. And I think we tend to lose that fact, right? But your body can be a creative endeavor, if that makes sense. There are people who power lift. I'm sorry. There are people who bodybuild. Bodybuilding is kind of what I'm talking about here on more of the aesthetic plane. There are people who just try to get as slim as possible and look as cut as possible. There are people who just try to achieve this weird sort of imagery of what they want to look like in their head, or they don't know what they want to look like. They're just on a discovery process of seeing how much that they can change through the processes that I have discussed. Okay. That's what we're aiming for. The Zoldrake's aiming to shut that down. Okay, so self-doubt is a big thing. The magician at this point, you got to understand, we're just coming off of that fool energy. We're going from 0 to 1. Okay, so the fool has not, I'm sorry, the magician doesn't even understand the concept of failure, or how these things that they're manifesting could fail, because it's just so fun and it's just so entertaining. Okay. On a food level, I think that there is a lot of creativity that people can do with food and stay inside of the healthy realm. When you start thinking about calorie counting, and you start thinking about meals and things that you can make and do, and just kind of create, it's a creative process. It's a very magician type of energy, right? Yes, you have confines. You can't have a bunch of calories and you can't have a bunch of crap food, but it's a hell of a lot more creative than going to get that McDonald's burger every day, right? It's a lot more creative than popping the same microwave dinner into the oven every night, right? You can be creative with your food in taste and in presentation and in just kind of the science of it on what makes you feel full, what doesn't. And something that I have noticed, just as a side note, is as you get further down on the weight loss journey, you start to crave the healthy food and the food that is just kind of full of preservatives and additives and stuff like that. It tastes different, like you don't crave it as much, and when you do like indulge a little bit and have some or whatever, it doesn't taste the way that you remember that it tasted. And that's a sign of you loosening the Zoldrake on your appetites and what you think is good food. Okay, so being creative with your food in the simpler forms is really interesting. Combining things that you've never combined before. Just in the concept of a salad, there's a million different ways to put together a salad, right? With your proteins, if you're messing with beef, different rarenesses and things like that. If your lean proteins, different seasonings, you have to be careful on sauces. Obviously, sauces have a lot of calories, okay, depending on the sauce, but what I'm talking about. But yeah, different seasonings and flavorings on your lean meats. Different soups, different ways to utilize healthy carbs like rice. You know how many things you can do with rice? It's crazy, right? So just in these things, making these new things and trying to find a childish sense of awe about these things and creativity is important. Same thing in the gym, right? How many different ways are there to exercise? How many different ways are there to do a single push-up, right? How many variations of a push-up are there? How many different machines are there in the gym that you can learn about and use to create this new physique? How many places can you go for a walk or a run? You can bike, you can roller skate, you can rollerblade, you can do all of these things. Exercise is once you get past kind of the like, oh, this sucks and this is painful and this is something I have to do, it's actually kind of a weird artistic blank canvas on everything that you can do with it to create new exercise routines, and then notice how those things make you feel. That's more of a next installment on the High Priestess, but that's where we bleed over from the external to the internal. Okay, understanding that this stuff that you're creating on the outside is also having a as above so below type of manifestation on the inside. Okay, now I do want to say just real quick, and we'll go over this again, I'm sure, in the High Priestess video, but you're going to feel better before you're going to look better. Actually, first you're going to feel probably worse as you start to move and you start to kind of eat you're going to be hungrier, you're going to be tired, you're going to be sore. But then slowly as that graduates, you graduate into the idea of, oh, I have more energy, I actually feel better. Like stretching is amazing, like once you figure out like, oh, I've had a really good hard workout and then tomorrow I'm gonna be sore, yeah, but that stretch is gonna feel so good, right? Like that's an odd thing that you discover. I think that's enough. I think that puts a really nice cap on it. But back to how the Zoldrake uses this against you. The Zoldrake's biggest idea, excuse me, in this is to make you think that exercise, fitness, and food are boring. Okay? It's keeping you in the trap that, oh, this isn't a creative thing that I can do. This is something I have to do. This is a chore. When in reality it's not. But the Zoldrake makes you think that it is. Okay? All right. We'll see you in the next one.